Hey everybody, welcome. It's Jordan, the Urban Outlander. We are looking at episode 5 of Outlander season 6. This is Give Me Liberty. I like this episode. The opening was kind of like this cool little throwback to sort of a historical moment, but also we got to see Bonnie Prince Charlie again, and also kind of weaved in where the theme song to Outlander comes from, which is the traditional Irish folk song. Hello, Scottish folk song. We're all reminded of why Bonnie Prince Charlie never exactly was able to rally the troops, rally the Highlanders, and reinstate his family's throne. He's still a whiner. Fun side history note. For anybody who's traveled to Scotland and maybe has learned about the history, you kind of learn a little bit about Flora McDonald, a real person who, yes, did help Bonnie Prince Charlie escape Scotland after Culloden. And yeah, she dressed him up as a woman and just sort of like, they sailed off to Skye, the Isle of Skye, and then he hailed it over to, I think, eventually Italy. Google tells me that yes, she actually did immigrate over to North Carolina for a few years and she and her husband were part of the Loyalist movement. So that's kind of cool. She did eventually go back to Skye, and there we have the song. It all just kind of comes together. We had a nice new opening. I liked it. I think it worked very well. And I liked how the Flora McDonald thing comes back later as the episode proceeds. We see Auntie Jocasta again, and she's just getting high with hemp flower. That was entertaining. And Claire is still getting high on ether. She's still hitting it hard. I like the game of trying to figure out how pregnant she looks. How pregnant does Katrina Balfe look in this week's episode? And I think this was a good one. She looks a little thick around the waist. Nothing wrong with that. Last week, she did look a little bit, but this one was a little bit more. And it's just like a fun little drinking game. Claire's a fun little party trick. You know, she'll look at you and figure out your ailment. It seems to be hereditary because Brianna apparently can look at you as well and figure out that you have malaria. They go out for a walk. Lizzie passes out and she's like, oh, she's got malaria. And I'm like, wait, hold on. I think Lizzie would have just passed out simply because there's like some witchery love charm thing with human fingers, and that would have been enough to let her pass out. But apparently, no, she has malaria. Okay, there was one part that was kind of driving me crazy this episode, and I had to look back like past seasons to figure it out. Mary is the slave character this episode. For a minute, I'm like, wait, is this the character from a few seasons ago that we meet when they first arrive to Aunt Jocasta's and Claire doesn't like slavery? Are they trying to pull that like Roseanne, Becky thing? Remember in the 90s when they changed out the actresses who played the sister Becky and they never explained why it was a different woman? Is this what they're trying to do in Outlander? They're trying to like change out an actress, but make it the same character? No. I went back to season 4 because I just had to. It was driving me crazy. And no, I was mixing her up with Phaedra. Phaedra was the other slave character, I believe, in season 4. Maybe that actress wasn't available, so they had. Mary was a character that they meet when they arrive at Aunt Jocasta's, but I don't think she had any lines. I figured it out. Don't worry. All good now. I can go to sleep sweetly tonight. Marla the Tart. Of course, the daughter of the minister is going to do like the 18th century version of having sex in your parents' car during high school, but instead it's her father's church. Roger realizes that his visits to Amy McCollum's house is not going over very well with the local settlers, and maybe it's time to have a neighbor check in on her instead. And I'm just sort of wondering, is anyone checking on the sin-eater old man from a few episodes ago whose wife died? Because apparently not, but Malva is. I thought Fraser's Ridge was like this family settlement where everybody's like taking care of each other, but apparently not. Apparently everybody forgot the old man widow. Now look what happened. I'm filing a negligent complaint. I'm taking it up with Jamie Fraser. And Brianna is pregnant again. I like how Marsley's like, oh, I can when a woman is pregnant. And it's like, sister, Brianna was like staring at a baby while rubbing her stomach. That's not exactly indigestion. So Lord John Grey comes back. Hey, hey. And he's like still in love with Jamie, still making it painfully obvious. And I don't think that Jamie being part of the Patriot, the anti-loyalist faction, is going to really dampen his enormous love for Jamie Fraser. Because in case we weren't sure, you know, every time Jamie walks through the door at a party or anywhere, Lord John Grey just gets all puppy eyes. Puppy eyes. And this sort of leads me to a side note. So there are sort of rumors going around that there will be a spin-off of Outlander. I don't think any details have really been released, but a part of me is wondering if they're gonna do a Lord John Grey spin-off. There are novellas of his story. I just have to wonder if there's enough interest in his character to really justify having a whole spin-off series with him. If it's not Lord John Grey spin-off, then what other kind of spin-offs will Outlander have? How can I forget the ending? This mysterious ending. We got a whistle of that song from a show that is before my generation, a gem, a prison, and that guy from last season with the hair. Dun dun dun! Next episode on Outlander, I guess we will learn more. I liked this episode. I thought it was well paced, a lot going on, which I liked a little more than last episode. Sorry. And had more character stuff going on, more, I guess, sort of like plot stuff and action building up. We're getting into the last 3 episodes of the season. So now this is kind of when, you know, the pace sort of quickens. The teaser for next episode looks really interesting. It seems like we're gonna see exactly maybe who the object was of Malva's love charm. Spoiler alert, it's Jamie. It's always Jamie. Everybody wants Jamie. Thanks so much for checking out this recap. Check out my website, www.urbanoutlander.com. Check me out on Twitter. Check me out on Instagram. And don't forget to sign up. I'm looking forward to hearing what you thought about this episode. Was it probably a lot of stuff from the book? Were you like super into it? How do you feel about Lord John Grey? If Claire were at your party and looked at you, what ailment would she deduce? Thanks so much for stopping by. See you next week.